You've got someone in the background.
So there's my BBC News moment. No, well, we've got a particular competitor who I won't name, but you know him, Giles. I think you were flying with him a couple of weeks ago, who's pretty competitive and will challenge.
Really?
Challenge pretty much anything, 68 aircraft up into the sky in 2 to 3 minute intervals. That's taking the best part of 3 hours we've modelled. Yeah.
My knowledge of how can myself a better pilot, and by understanding how the guys were flying instance, I think it helps me in my journey as a pilot and where I want to go.
In fact, Giles, just to jump in there, you know, just to remind you, you know, you're coming to help, don't you?
Oh, am I? Yes.
Yes.
Welcome to the channel. A little bit of a special one tonight because we're trying to promote what's going on in the UK, and we've got the World Microlight Championships this year. There's a little bit of background, and some of you would have recognised Owen. Give us a wave, Owen. Hello. And Angela. Angela has been around the bazaars for a while in terms of microlighting, paramotoring, paratriking, and all-round aviation goddess in that respect. But tonight we're going to delve into a little bit more detail about what's involved with the championships, how to get involved, and lots of other little secrets. So stay till the end and see what's going on in the secret world of the microlight competitions. Owen, good to see you again. In terms of on another Zoom chat, we've had a few of these thus far, haven't we? A little bit of a sort of background to what's going on at the minute. When was the last Worlds held? And where?
The last Worlds were held in 2022, and that was in the Czech Republic, and that was a place called Hosin, where we had a relatively small team. And prior to that, I think they were sort of biannual and across various different nations. I think a bit of background for the UK. The last time they were held in the UK was in 2016 at Popham. And prior to that, 2010 at SciWorld. So a bit of historical context of the UK hosting as well.
What's changed over the years in terms of the content? Has the format changed over those times? Or is it going to change from the preceding ones?
I think that's a really good question. I think it has changed. It's evolved a little bit as the aircraft themselves have got a little bit bigger and a little bit faster, the categories. But I think it's still true to its origins. It's the classic classes, so you still got single seat weight shift. You'll be pleased to know, and all the way up to 600 kilo 3-axis as well, and gyros. So there's 5 categories. The technology means that we can do quite a lot of clever things with the tracking, and I know one of our key aims is safety as well. So I think in the last couple of years there's been a big push on the safety of the tasks. We've deliberately taken out what I would say one or two of the slightly riskier elements, like landing over tapes and taking off over tapes and things. One or two people might say, well, that's taken the fun out of it, but nobody likes having a bent machine on the runway or things. So we're pushing certainly for safety and better organization as well.
In terms of Angela's a key part to this. I'm sort of jump into where Angela's involvement is come from. I remember seeing Angela at the Open Series that we held here at Darley Moor. And so how can actually people get involved?
Well, my involvement started, again, I'd come from the paramotor world, and I was training at Darley Moor on the flex swing to go on eventually my little sub-70 single seat. And I just saw the Open Series come up, and I thought, well, being involved in the paramotor championships, why not? I knew very little about the microlighting world and what happened. So I thought, well, I'll get involved. I'll put my hand up and say, well, I'll come and marshal, not knowing really what was involved. And obviously Owen and the team took me under their wings, and literally on that first Open, I was stood on the box, scoring the planes coming in for the spot landings, and basically it's grown from there. I've gone from the marshalling side in the box, and then I've worked with Colin on the software, and when the guys are flying their tracks, understanding why they're flying the tracks, you know, how we're scoring them, what makes a good track, what doesn't make a good track, you know, what makes a good pilot. And for me, it was all like, I wanted to know that background side, just for my own knowledge of how could I make myself a better pilot. And by understanding how the guys were flying positions, I think it helps me in my journey as a pilot and where I want to go. So I sort of stuck my hand up, sort of not knowing anything, and just got involved, and I'm loving it. And now they can't get rid of me.
It sounds like from some of the posts that have been going on the World Microlight Comp Facebook page, I'll leave a link somewhere on the screen at the minute, so people want to keep in touch. That you are very, very much an integral part. But so throwing a question over to Owen then, if people do want to get involved, even at this late stage, how would they go about it?
Well, it's not that late a stage. It probably feels a late stage for us as organisers and an organisational team, because we've been working on it now for a good year or so. But if people want to become involved, there's a link on our website, and Tim Burrow, who can't be here tonight, he's our chief marshal, and we need a team of potentially 15 to 20 people on the ground, airside marshalling, quarantine areas and various things like that. So really, it's a matter of clicking on the link on the website, contact us, saying which dates you can be available, and then following from there. Really, we're looking for people who are prepared to muck in, give their time. They'll be given food, free t-shirt.
Everyone likes a free t-shirt.
Everyone likes a free t-shirt, a limited edition one, and high vis. No, but it really is good fun in all weathers as well. So yeah, any ways in which people can be involved like that, I think we're keen to hear from people.
Yeah. So with 3 to 4 months to go, how are the preparations going? And I suppose you both got an input into that question, really.
I think they're going okay. I don't want to tempt fate. I think that we've made really good progress. We've been working hard, face-to-face meetings at Deddington, first aid training at Deddington. We've done a lot of things virtually, and we've got a face-to-face meeting this Saturday at Deenethorpe, for example. The one thing, as everybody has found over the winter, is the weather. And, you know, a really wet February, a really wet March. We haven't had any airtime yet. I don't think it's a problem as yet, but it might just squeeze one or two of the preparations, taking photos of the tracks and ensuring that all of the tasks are planned correctly. I don't know if you'd add to that, Angela, if you're feeling that as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. We've got to the state, you know, all the admin side has been done. Basically, you know, we're starting to get all the competitors' information in and dealing with all the difficulties that go around getting these pilots into the UK, etc. And then, as Owens alluded there, the weather is going to be the key thing that potentially, you know, causes us issues. You know, we're planning the tasks well, we're getting the software ready to accept all the tasks, and, you know, we're getting all that groundwork done, but we still need to get into the air. We still need to fly ourselves and fly tracks and sign them off, really, for validity.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of background detail that people don't really appreciate. In terms of a competition, like you said, there are lots of photographs. They're not just ripped off Google Maps. Someone has to physically go and fly these. And as you were saying, Angela, it's validating the tasks. There's no point going, let's just go A to B, C, D, and then come back. And people go, that didn't work. Who's actually responsible for making that sort of physical aspect happen?
Well, we've got a nice system where we have a designer of a task. So all four of us are designing tasks, but then we have a checking system and we have a validating system as well. So, and that's to stop people going a little bit creative with the task. So I'm looking at myself at this point, and I can hear Colin's voice saying, no, it needs to be, well, we've got a particular competitor who I won't name, but you know him, Giles. I think we were flying with him a couple of weeks ago, who's pretty competitive and will challenge.
Really?
Yeah, we challenge pretty much anything down to the millimeter. So that's our first test. You know, is it, insert here, proof? And if it is, we need to check it, double check it, and triple check it. So, you know, that's the sort of level of detail. So we don't hopefully have any surprises on the day where somebody puts their hand up and goes, do you mean that road junction, or do you mean this church? And then there's a problem, because any ambiguity could be the difference between a gold medal and a silver medal or something. And people are very passionate. You have a somebody who's driven all the way across Europe or even across the world potentially and invested a lot of money and time, and I don't know, the road junction's in the wrong place, then you're going to feel a little bit aggrieved. So you've got to make sure that it is absolutely X proof.
And I suppose, Angela, that links in with a lot of work you're doing with the software side of it and integration of software.
Yeah, so yes, again, just validating that we've loaded all the tracks correctly, and that, again, as Owen said there, that we've got the markers and the gates in the right place, because anything where the competitor can basically look at this and go, well, hang on, you didn't score me, I missed that gate by 2 millimeters. We've got to be sure we've put that center of that gate in the right place, to make sure that they do score correctly. So yeah, there's a lot of background work that goes on, not just designing the task, but validating. And I think that's a huge chunk of the work we do, is that validation work. When the competitor flies it, they know they're flying a good task.
You touched on people traveling long distances, Owen. How many teams have entered? How many pilots have entered, and aircraft, etc.? And what you've touched on platform types such as auto gyro, fixed wing, flex wing, single seat, multi seat. So how many people are coming in?
Well, we introduced something called a pre-registration, which meant that team leaders could nominate their likely interest, so we can plan accordingly. And at the moment, I think we're about 67 aircraft in total.
67, wow.
Yeah, which is we're really pleased with. In hosting in 2022, it's 42, 43. So it had been a bit down there because post-Ukraine situation, and also uncertainty post-COVID as well. So that's 2022. So it's 2024 now. And I think people enjoyed coming to the Grand Open last year, which was a test event at Deenethorpe. So yeah, 10, maybe 11 countries. There's one other person I've been liaising with today. So that's 11 countries. All categories are now valid. You have to have 4 aircraft from 4 different countries to make a valid championship. So We've got all of the classes valid as well. And most of the categories have 13, 14 aircraft in each. We've got a very large team from the Czech Republic. We've got the Spanish team back, the French team back. We've got a representative from Ukraine, Lithuania, potentially India as well. So there's a good number, and I think actually it gives us lots of positives, but at the same time it makes a long day. If you've got to get 68 aircraft up into the sky in 2 to 3 minute intervals, that's taking the best part of 3 hours we've modelled. Yeah.
You've touched on Deenethorpe, and that was actually my next question. How suitable is Deenethorpe as a venue, and is there any benefits to having it at Deenethorpe this time round?
Well, I think firstly, we've got 2 very enthusiastic people there, Mick and Kevin, Mick Hyde and Kevin. They want it to succeed, and I think their generosity of time and effort has been superb. Secondly, it's got a 1.2 kilometre long runway. It's also got a grass runway either side, so we can run consecutive and parallel takeoff and landings. Right. So back to my time point, you may have an aircraft has departed on a task and has come back while aircraft are still departing. So it's like a bit like a big fly-in that respect. Yeah, you've got to manage departing and arriving aircraft. And in fact, Mick and Kevin have even planted a larger area for camping, which has been seeded as we speak.
Yeah, it sounds like there's not just the complexities of what Angela's working with and yourself working with on the pure tasks. It sounds like there's a huge logistics element. I mean, 67 aircraft burning X amount of litres a day of fuel. Fuel's just one component of that. And it sounds like you've got a huge team besides the actual comp team supporting this as well from Deenethorpe.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, Mick and Kevin, the Marshall team, making sure aircraft are in the right place at the right time with the right tasks, they have the right quarantine time, and they're fueled up and ready to go. We'll have potentially 2 fuel tasks, which will need fuel weighing before they're put in tanks, and tanks are sealed. You're absolutely right, Giles. The actual flying tasks are probably the icing on the cake. The main part of the cake is everything that goes beneath it and just getting those aircraft into the air. And we want people to enjoy themselves. We want them to feel that when they jump back in that plane to fly back, or back in the car across the cross-channel ferry or whatever it is, they go, that was a really good experience. Not only the flying, the social aspects, collaborating, working together, and hopefully, really bring some happy memories for them.
So following on from all that logistics, and if people want to get involved, Angela, what are the actual dates for this event then?
So main event runs over a couple of weeks. We start with basically on the 22nd of July, which we run basically practice tasks. So for the guys come in, and it gives them a chance to go off and observe the area and fly some tasks basically. Then the opening ceremony is on the 27th of July, and
awesome.
Hopefully closing on the 3rd of August. So
brilliant. Yeah.
Lots of tests for them to fly and lots of things for them to do, basically. But yeah, they have that practice week to go and basically try and get their eye in, as they say.
We've had Colin on these sort of chats before, so I know Angela's got her roles as well. What's Colin's role this time round?
Collins is deputy director, so I'm the competition director for my sins, and then Colin is the voice of reason as deputy director, but he's also heavily involved with Angela. Angela's chief scorer. So there's kind of Angela and Colin as the scoring team, and with Colin as deputy director, and then Tim is chief marshal. So there's the four of us as a pretty good tight team, and I think we've got fairly clear roles and responsibilities, and we've also got a good number of marshals, experienced marshals who we've already signed up, who have helped out before as well, and they know their way around the spot landing box and things like that as well. But
I was going to say, you four can't just run it on your own. There's got to be a background.
No. And we've got each day planned. We've got each key elements, key aspects, and a dedicated catering team, like I said. Mick and Kevin looking after some of the logistics at Deenethorpe, the fuel and the bar as well, an important one. So yeah, it's all fitting into place, but we're trying to avoid a situation where we don't go, we haven't thought of that, on day two of the competition. You're asking a lot of so what questions, and we've all been and done and competed in various different competitions before, and we've all seen lots of great practice and lots of not so good practice. So we want to try and learn from that and bring that together, I think. In fact, Giles, just to jump in there, just to remind you, you're coming to help, don't you?
Oh, am I? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do know. I will be there.
Good.
So if anyone's watching this video, I will be vlogging it, but I will also be helping out. I'm not allowed to tell you what I'm doing. I've been on pain of death. I can't tell you what I'm doing. But yes, I will be there, and I will be vlogging it. So there will be a number of videos post-event, and we will try and do some live streams on the Facebook channel as well. So if you haven't found the World Microlight competition page, it's going to be on the screen now, and go and log on, join it, and that will give you any updates of what's going on as well. So we've talked about other teams, but clearly we've got a British team, a UK team. So are you allowed to tell us who the UK team is and any special elements about the UK team?
Well, no, not really, to be honest, Giles. It's only what we know, because we've had to step away from the UK team,
right,
because we need to remain impartial.
Yeah.
All I know, and I think Angela knows this, we've had an entry sheet with some names on there. Some one or two familiar names, which we're pleased to see, who, because it's a UK team, are coming back to competing. One of them, I think, has got 10 gold medals. One of them's got 9 gold medals.
I wonder who that is, or who they are.
They are. So, but I think it's great that those experienced competitors who have had success before are coming. But also, I believe there's a number of people who've not flown a World Championship before, or a Category 1 FIA competition in the UK team as well, which is great. So obviously the Open Series is working. And there'll be a few people who'll be trying it out for the first time. So, but we are genuinely, there's FLARM, which has been organised, coming up in a couple of weeks' time. And in fact, we're just putting competitors' hats on and going along to fly in it as competitors. We have a test event in May, which is round 2 of the Open Series, and we're again organisers. And at that point, the British team are just like any other team. We'll organise it, and we'll treat them in exactly the same way as any other competitor. So I think it's really important that we're fair and we're transparent, and that other competitors, there'll be a little bit of home advantage, i.e. they know their way around Northamptonshire, but that's it. They'll know one or two of the sights and sounds, but actually from personal experience, once you're micro navigating, as you know, Giles, from Darley Moor, whether you know the area or not, you can still get lost quite quickly, can't you?
Yes, you can quite quickly. So in terms of wrapping up the sort of interviews with you both, I know that these events don't happen without support of people and or a little bit of sponsorship. So is there any elements or people of sponsorship you'd like to mention in this video?
Well, I think we've got 16 sponsors at our last count, which are all on our website, and I'm conscious a little bit of time, so they'll be thanked at different times. But I mean, for example, Ben Ashman, Andrew, Bill, the logo that's behind your left shoulder, and just sort of point to it there. That's it. And Angela are both resplendently wearing this evening. They did a superb job, and I think it's already got a real strong identity. Simon Worthington at Eccleston Aviation, I've just got them in the post today. These are some very special trophies. This one here is a piston which has been laser etched by Simon, and he spent a lot of time on that this week with the same logo we're talking about. Matt Burnham from Fly UK has done a superb guide on flying from across Europe to the championship. Deenethorpe, I've mentioned, Mick and Kevin. And there's just numerous other people. Paddy, who did our first aid training, which was absolutely superb from my first aid. And these people have just given their time, which I think is so invaluable, and it makes a big difference. And I think it will, whoever gets that, on their mantelpiece, to me, will be so chuffed, and that's because of Simon's efforts. There's more people who have worked, and I'm sure going forward will continue to work really hard. But there's a lot of support from the UK microlight industry, which I think is invaluable.
I'll leave a picture on the screen now to show you a whole list of sponsors, of all those, because they are numerous. Okay, so Owen, you had one last question or one last point you wanted to talk about before we wrap up.
Yes, and this is a practical one. We've had quite a few people interested and wanting to talk about spectating. And further guidance and advice will come out. We hope on the first day to make it a sort of PPR fly-in, where people will register for their slots, a little bit like you do at the one or two of the fly-ins during the year. Yeah. So we know how many people are coming, and there'll be strict instructions that you have to be on the ground before a particular time to enable a task to happen, that sort of thing. But then during the week, we will manage spectators at certain times. So it's not just turn up and arrive, because there'll be 70 aircraft with pilots and navigators head down, very focused on their tasks. And I'm afraid it sounds quite negative, but from a safety point of view, we can't have people just turning up ad hoc and popping in to see what it's about. Yeah. So they need to follow the website for updates nearer the time on how we will manage. We'd like as many people to come and see it, but it's not an open house to spectate. And I think it sounds a bit negative, but we want to make sure it's safe. That's the most important thing.
In terms of understanding what's going on, the Facebook page, the website will give all details. What's the most up-to-date version of information? Is it going to be on the Facebook page?
Facebook, I'd also say there's quite a bit on Instagram, but mainly the website. There's 2 bulletins on there already. There's going to be a monthly bulletin from now on in, with information for competitors, spectators, people potentially flying in as well. So you really, WMC2024.com, that will be a main source of information. And then Facebook and Instagram to highlight that there's a news update and things.
Yeah. Angela, are you finally allowed to get excited? I know how excited you get about the silliest of things. So thank you everyone for watching this video and joining us. As I said, it's very much in the I don't want to say the final stages, because there's still lots of work to do, but there'll be details in the description of the video. There'll be details on the website, the Facebook, Instagram. I'll leave all the links in there. Owen and Angela, thank you so much for giving us an insight into what's going on. We will have to chastise Tim and Colin for being rubbish and not being able to make tonight, because I'm sure that would have made them up for a more entertaining interview tonight. I hope you've enjoyed that video, and any more details, drop them in the comments or go to the relevant websites or Facebook pages and drop them comments and questions there. So we'll wrap this video up here. Thank you all for giving up your evening for this video. We'll wrap this up here. So until next time, everybody, bye.